Why hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. My name is Leia and today we will have a little reading vlog again because it's still summer and I wanted to read some mermaidy books, so why not do a whole vlog on it. So yeah, I already started the first book as you've seen, which is Sing Me to Sleep by... who's the author? Gabby Burton. There you go. And I'm reading this because Interlude has announced their sequel, which you can buy in just a few days at the time of filming this video. So I really need to read the first book to decide if I need the second one. So far I've read just the first chapter, the first 10-ish pages. And so far it's good. It's not the most flowery, slow-paced writing, which I personally prefer, but there's some world building going on. We're getting to know our main character, Saoirse, right here probably. We get to know her better. She's doing her first kill of the book. Not her first kill in life, certainly. But it was kind of underwhelming. Like, she's just poisoning a guy. It's not really a violent kill that would be more associated to, I guess, her species, because she is a siren. But yeah, it was okay. She's also walking on two legs like a pretty ordinary human, so that's also quite underwhelming so far. But I don't know if it changes in the future. Would be nice. We also have a map right here, and we've heard of a lot of places already in the first chapter. It takes place in Vanny Hall. As you see, this is Saoirse's home right here. We've heard a bit about the palace already, about the barracks where she works and so on, about these different fae that exist. So yeah, got some world building all that already there. Some hints at what the plot might be about, because she can't resist the water, which wants her to kill people, which is a problem, because if she's discovered as a siren, she will be hunted to be killed. So yeah, we've got that stuff going on, and then she's also working undercover to kill people to earn money for her patchwork family, you could say. What's it called? A found family, right? They are not related in any way, but it's like she has a sister and a mother and a father. And that's about everything that we learn in this first chapter. And yeah, she has her graduation the next day, which takes place at these barracks. And I think there are some competitions going on which sound interesting, and of course there's water there as well. But yeah, sounds interesting. Sounds like some more interesting action going on. As I'm always going into books without really knowing anything, I have no idea where this book is going, but I'm intrigued so far. It's not blowing me away in any way, but I do like water books, and it's just the perfect thing to read during summer, to have something with water, something refreshing that reminds you of going on a vacation, having fun, and so on. I really love summer weather, so that's also perfect. And yeah, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I also want to read 3 other books that you've seen earlier, which are a mermaid short story collection, or an anthology, if I'm being honest. It's by different authors, where I've read another anthology which was all about vampires. So yeah, I will hopefully enjoy the mermaid one more than the vampire one, but who knows. And then I also have a literary fiction book which takes place in contemporary times, not a fantasy world. And I'm not even sure if it's well suited for this summer mermaidy reading vlog, if I'm being honest, because again, I have no idea what the books are about that I read. And It sounds really confusing. It's Pisces. A lot of people have read it and loved it, but I'm not really sure if there's even a merman in there. I think she falls in love with some kind of merman, but I really have no idea. So yeah, that's something that I think I might not enjoy as much, but I really want to read it because I'm always putting it off. And then the last one is another book by Lillian Paul, who also wrote a book about bees, which was written from the POV of a bee, and this is similar because it is written from the perspective of a specific dolphin, I think. Some kind of sea creature, which sounds really cool. So yeah, that's what's going to be in this vlog. I have YA Fairy Loot Special Edition with sirens. Got a short story anthology. Short story anthology, is that a word? I'm not sure. Got some dolphin-y stuff underwater, whatever going on, and some contemporary literary stuff. Like, I have no idea, but it sounds like it's different, but still fitting the theme that I want to achieve. So yeah, that's it. Can't really say anything more at this point about the book, but I will catch up with you when I've read some more. So I'm currently in chapter 30, which is essentially just over halfway through the book, if you can see that, with all the shadows going on because it is quite late already. There we go. And so far some stuff has happened, of course. Now, after this competition at the barracks, our main character obviously has won the first place and got a very nice job offer at the palace from the prince himself, and she accepts it because she also got a letter who says that this ominous person knows who or what rain is, some kind of species that is not allowed in this kingdom. So she wants to find out who is blackmailing her, because this letter has some hints at being from a royal or someone who's very close to a royal. So she accepts this job, becomes a guard for the prince, and meets all the other guards who are there. Is being very suspicious of everyone around her, and also does a lot of killing, finds out who she even kills. Like, it's not just random guys that she's assigned to kill from this letter person. They seem to have some kind of purpose, and yeah, trying to investigate what's going on is basically what's happening here. And yeah, slowly but surely people getting suspicious of her, and she's almost getting caught with all of her killings. So yeah, that's basically everything in these 200 pages. There's not a lot of plot going on here. It's really slow, but I do like the kind of creatures that are in this book, like the witches, and their magic are really cool, with the beads that you can put on to change your voice, change your appearance, and also the way that people communicate through a candle to send letters to each other was also very cool, very reminiscent of Harry Potter. But yeah, I do like that. We also have a few of these letters in the book, like here on page 84. So that's also cool to read them in different handwritings depending on who writes these letters, so that's very nice. And what else do we have? The sirens. the sirens aren't as cool as I wanted them to be. Like, I started this vlog to read about mermaids, sirens, and so on, and this is just your typical fantasy book in terms of comparing it to other mermaidy books, because she's like never in the water. I've read over half of the book, and she's just like a human with some magical powers, but it's not really giving me mermaid siren vibes, honestly. So that's a bummer. But yeah, the witches are cool. I love Rain, she's very cute. I hope she's not someone who has a darker side that we do not know of. And yeah, I want to know who this letter guy is. I have my suspicions, like I'm thinking of certain witches, or even the prince maybe, but I don't think that it's from him. But yeah, very curious. I hope I also learn who or what Rain is, because we're never told. I know this is a duology, so the chances are that we will get to know that in the second book, but that would be very, very frustrating, so I hope that does not happen. And yeah, that's basically everything that I can tell you about it. Like, it's a bit dragging, and the main character does some stupid decisions with how she kills people and why she even does it sometimes. I mean, I get that she's a siren, she has this urge to do it, but sometimes it's frustrating about the way she goes about it. But yeah, I'm gonna report my final thoughts when I finished the book. Alright, I finished the book now. This is the back of Sing Me to Sleep. I still love this cover very, very much, but unfortunately it doesn't really have to do anything with the content. Like, our main character's never underwater still. We don't encounter sharks or any fish or whatever, jellyfish, nothing of that sort, which is just kind of misleading if I'm being honest. Like, if you pick up this book, you believe that this will have some underwater vibes, but no, not at all. Yeah, very unfortunate, because that's why I picked it up, so it's partially my fault, partially the covers, partially no one's fault, really. So, yeah. Did that, nothing really exciting happened. There were some reveals, some of them I predicted, others I did not, but again, wasn't surprised or interested by anything. Didn't like the romance, didn't like the plot, but I did like the world and the magic. But since the fantasy aspects weren't really focused on, that's not enough for me to keep the book. Very, very, very unfortunate. I'm always devastated if I read a Fairyloot book or any special edition that I bought and do not enjoy it, but that's the risk in subscribing to these book boxes. So yeah, essentially this is more of a murder mystery with your typical like assassin undercover vibes. And it's not a typical murder mystery because we know who the murderer is, but there are still enough secrets to call it a murder mystery. And we also learn about the people who still do not know who the murderer is, so they are also trying to figure it out. So yeah, I think murder mystery is a good description for the book, with slight fantasy aspects and, as I said, some undercover assassin style stuff going on. It's not bad in any way, but just not what I wanted to get out of it. That's why I'm probably more disappointed. All in all, would have loved to see more of the fantasy aspects, like the candle stuff and also the magic, the stuff that the witches do, more of the siren world, also some of the other creatures that are mentioned in here that never played a role. But maybe that happens in the second book, I have no idea. I will not continue with this duology, but I'm not mad that I read this, since there were some really good parts in it. And yeah, let's just move on to the next book, and hopefully this will be more of my taste. So here we have the stack of books filled with stuff that I want to read next. So these are all interlude, maybe a Lumicrate, I don't know, books where the sequel comes out really soon in the special edition, so I need to focus on these. But for our vlog, we have these 3 books left. Pisces by Melissa Broda, which is the literary contemporary with or without fantasy, I'm not sure. The short story collection with mermaids, mostly YA, and then Pot with the, I hope it's a dolphin, underwater. Also quite literary, but there's this fantastical aspect in following the perspective of an animal. And to be honest, after Sing Me to Sleep, I don't want to read more YA right now. And I do not want to read something where I don't know if there's even underwater stuff going on. So I'm gravitating towards Pot, hoping for some underwater vibes that I'm just really craving right now. So this is the beautiful, beautiful cover of Pot. And as it says right here, it's by Lillian Paul, who also wrote The Beast, which I've talked about earlier, I think. It's been a few days, but I think I talked about it. And yeah, this is the only Lillian Paul book that I have not yet read. So after that, I will have to wait if the author ever decides to write anything else. I have no idea. So, got some praise right here. This is for Pot. Is there anything interesting? Literary, yeah. I thought about that. Tale of Survival. I love survival stuff. Nice. And perfect plot. Beauty of the underwater is vividly and sensitively written. Yes, 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 please. That's what I want. Survival, underwater. Awesome. Do we have a beautiful naked hardback? I mean, it looks alright. Looks okay. Anything in the synopsis? Immersive. Takes me to the depths of the ocean. Yes, that's what I want. So, a spinner dolphin. Okay, I wasn't incorrect about that, so that's good. And yeah, she's exiled. She's exiled herself because I think she lost the group that she was swimming with. Something like that, and then she has to survive. I think there are also humans who are trying to hunt her. That's where the literary stuff is probably coming from. But we will see. Okay, I'm actually at chapter 2 already, on page 4. So yeah, very short chapters at the moment. I don't know if that changes. I don't mind it. I like long and short chapters, so that's fine by me. I just wanted to update you on what the book is actually about. The story starts with our main character. I do not know how to pronounce it. It's spelled E-A, so might be Ea, Ea, E. I think Ea sounds the most beautiful, so I'm just going to call her Ea. This is her name right here. And she remembers hard times from the past, and it's also talked about the place, the archipelago, where it all happened. It's about a feud between spinner dolphins and the longy. I don't remember. Bottlenose dolphins. No, wait, the longy are the So we have the longy, who are spinner dolphins, and then we have bottlenose dolphins. And they want to drive out the longy. Stuff had to happen, I guess, in the following book that we will find out, where they are not at war, you could say, with each other anymore. I'm thinking that humans came into play and threatened the whole species so that they kind of work together. I have no idea. I also did a little bit of research to find out about spinner dolphins, and they are a species who were hunted in the 20th century, where a lot, I think thousands of spinner dolphins were just wiped out. And then also humans in some place, I'm not sure of if it was India or something, where they are prohibited from getting too near to dolphins, like 50 meters of distance or something like that, because you're not supposed to disturb the dolphins during daytime, since the spinner dolphins need time to rest at day to hunt at night, which is a interesting fact. I didn't know that. So yeah, that was cool. And yeah, a lot of stuff in just 4 pages, but I will move on now and update you when I've read at least a third of the book. Like, it's very short, it's just 260 pages or something. 250, yeah, 260-ish pages. So shouldn't take me too long to get to a third or even maybe half of the book. I also found the perfect bookmark to accompany the naked hardcover. This is from Animal Crossing. I love it so much. I also love the back. Very, very cute. Fits the book almost perfectly. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on reading now. Okay, never mind. There's some interesting stuff going on that is also mentioned in the synopsis, I think, so I'm quickly going over that as well. And it's also beautifully written, so I really want to show you some quotes. So, our protagonist Air, our spinner dolphin, hears some ugly, frightening sounds that the others in her pod or group or tribe, whatever you want to call it, do not hear, which is already interesting, but then she also doesn't hear the music of the ocean like everyone else, which is a problem because you need to hear that to do the spinning part that the dolphins are named for. As it says right here, I love that sentence. Spinning was the longest art form. It was dance, athleticism, most commonly just for entertainment and sport, but it also held a spiritual element. It was union with the ocean itself. Like, that sounds so beautiful, but yeah, our main character can't hear that music, so she has this acoustic disability, as it says right here. Very interesting representation right there for sure. And yeah, she hears different stuff that is very frightening and just unexpectedly happens, but then it also says that she is very beautiful, so that's something, I guess. And also very good at hunting. That's what she does. If she can't do the spinning, she tries to find solace in being good at hunting. Alright, short little update at chapter 20, which is page 124. So I'm like halfway through at this point, and I have some thoughts. This book is even more different than I thought it would be, because we don't only follow our spinner dolphin heir. There are a lot of perspectives in here which I love so much. I love multiple POVs, so this is perfect. I mean, the main character certainly is the spinner dolphin, that's for sure. It takes up the majority of the POVs and the book, but we do have some regular other POVs. For example, a whale who is all about singing a song that no one else appreciates. Then we also have a wrasse. And if you don't know what a wrasse is, don't you worry, I didn't know either. It's also a certain type of wrasse, a Napoleon wrasse I think it's called. And yeah, I definitely have seen that before, but I didn't know the English term for it. So that was also cool. I think these fish are very, very interesting for sure. And then what else? We also have two other dolphins that we follow. One was captured by humans, and then the other is from this enemy group that I talked about earlier. And there's also a character who doesn't have his own POV, but takes up a lot of space anyways, and it's a remora, which is also super cool. Or remora? I think it's pronounced remora instead of remora. A remora. Okay. Which is something that I didn't know of before. It has to do with whales, but also I think sharks and definitely dolphins. And yeah, it's fascinating what the author did with what we know about remoras, but also what she just does with all the gaps that we do not yet know of these creatures. And all in all, I really love the dynamics in these different groups. Like the enemy dolphin group reads like a really different kind of society going on, different hierarchy, different way to behave, how they talk with others, and so on. And then the wrasse feels more like a medieval court with all kinds of interesting politics and also an interesting hierarchy, and also stuff that you might not have known about a wrasse, how they can become from a female to a male in certain circumstances. So all in all, it is just very, very nice dynamic, but we also learn a lot of stuff. It's descriptive, and there's also a plot. Like all of these different POVs, they are now slowly getting together. Don't want to spoil anything, but I will tell you that there is a lot of rape in here, and I've seen some reviews who talked about that being something that they did not enjoy in this book, and I can see why, for sure. There's just very much rape going on in here, but I do not mind it too much. I'm not the biggest fan of it just because it's a lot, but I think it's totally fine. It makes sense for the story and maybe even for dolphins. I have no idea. Again, I have no knowledge about dolphins and even subspecies of it. There's also some stuff about music and songs going on here, which is really interesting, and just a coming of age story in general, and making friends, trying to see if you can live somewhere else, being alone, all this kind of stuff. So far, really, really enjoying it, and I'll check in with you with my final thoughts later.
Really need to fish near the island? You worry too much. I don't know. What if the old stories are true?
I just got the most beautiful strawberry from my balcony. Like, this looks like a heart. Isn't it the cutest?
Surgeries for gas if you don't use a little good juju. And Coco is his juju, huh? Hey. Any questions for Coco?
Yay! I finished it. Finally. Took me some time. As you can see, it's already the next day. But I did it, and it was a success for sure. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, just because it was a bit hard to get into the book at first. I was confused at where we are, what is going on, what are all these weird terms that are very, very unfamiliar to me. But once I got into it, just took like, I don't know, 20-ish pages. I loved it. It is such a dark, dark story with a lot of triggering themes in here. Like, there's a lot of rape, as I've said, but there's also death going on, violence, bunch of lonely characters in here. So, and it's also very sad. I cried at one point towards the end. I will not talk about what this was, but I think if you know, you know. So that was really sad. But overall, a very, very, very good story with a very, very important message. Of course, deals with a lot of dark stuff, life-threatening stuff for the characters, and also how humans play into it. A lot of that in here. In the Beast, not so much. But yeah, if you like the Beast, I think you will enjoy this as well, if you can deal with all the rape going on in here. Much more literary than I thought it would be, but not too much. Like, the plot is still the focus, I think, of it. And all the transformation, the fears of these characters. So, after that, we can move on to the next book. We only have 2 more books left for the vlog, so let's see what I will pick up next. These are the 2 books that are left. The Pisces by Melissa Broda and Mermaids Never Drown. And I'm gravitating towards the Pisces. I know it's literary again, but I want to end the video on a positive note. Whilst I do not know if I'll enjoy Mermaids Never Drown, I'm pretty sure, since it is a short story collection, there will be at least one story that I will really like. So there's a guarantee for something good in here. The Pisces I'm very, very conflicted about, since it is literary contemporary stuff and magical realism, which is not typically something I enjoy, but it has this water stuff in there that I like. So yeah, we will just see. I want to get it over with. It has been on my TBR for way too long, so let's just dive into this. This is also the German translated version, so it will take me not a lot of time to get through it. and then I suddenly didn't record anything else and finished the other 2 books without you. I'm very sorry about that, but I don't know, I didn't feel like recording, and now it's a few weeks later actually, and yeah, I did finish the other 2 books by now. I didn't really enjoy them, so I don't want to talk about them in too much detail if I'm being honest. Starting with Pisces by Melissa Broder, which is a literary fiction with a quite unlikable main character that might deal with depression or something. She is going to these weekly meetings with other people who are all talking about what's going wrong in their lives and so on, and how they feel. All of these people are a bit weird, including our main character for sure. So she is going to a friend's place, or I think it's a sister or something, meets these characters, lives her weird life, doesn't have a job, isn't really pursuing her university degree as she should be, and then she meets this merman at the beach and they fall in love. And it's obviously not that easy to have a romantic relationship with a merman, but fortunately our merman, little spoiler, has a penis as well. Yay. Jesus, this was so fucking weird, and not the good weird, for me at least. I did not enjoy it. And instead of, I don't know, dealing with the fact that he is from the sea, he is willing to being dragged with a handcart into her home so that they can have some spicy scenes in there. I don't know why, but okay. She was fine with having intercourse with him on this freaking rock where everyone could see her, but okay, fine, do it. There's also a nice twist in the end about the merman, which was quite cool. Gotta say that this was a nice little twist in there, but unfortunately it didn't help with the rest. But this comes from someone who doesn't like literary fiction if it takes place in the contemporary times. Same goes for contemporary romance. Just not something that I would typically pick up ever, because I'm not interested in the real world as I know it. The writing style was also weird. There are a lot of weird scenes, and sometimes smells that were described in terms of how parts of the merman smell and stuff, and I don't know, and the way that she is prepping up for any kind of date. She's not just having sex with the merman, there are just normal people as well. She's just having fun with other guys as well, and she is very particular about what to do prior to going on this date. And there was one scene, including a toilet scene and her hand and her butt, that was just freaking weird. I hope no woman on this world does something like that to prep up for a date, because no, don't do it. So yeah, interesting choice there. I also like that the author repeatedly mentions Greek myths, in particular sirens, and compares the merman with a siren. But in Greek myths, sirens are not humans with a fish tail, so that was interesting for sure. Don't know if it was on purpose or if the author just didn't know that, but yeah. Maybe other people would say that this is freaking funny and deals with relatable themes, but I will unhaul it for sure. Gave it 1 star and I'm not even sure how I pushed through it, but I wanted to know how this ends, so read the whole thing, and I do not regret it because it was fast-paced. Like, for the 350 pages in here, I got through it fairly quickly, so I'm glad about that. And I do love the cover, which is why I picked it up. Yeah, so yeah, that is pretty. I think I like it. But moving on to the short story collection, Mermaids Never Drown, Tales to Dive For, which is a follow-up to the Vampires Never Die short story. These authors, or editors, but they also have always a short story in here, have a little series going on with mythological, fantastical beings that are featured in short stories. So first one was about vampires, this one is about mermaids, the third one will be about fairies. I hope they will do other creatures, but I hope the short stories themselves will be better, because again, this was not my favorite. Gave it 2 stars in total, but it's more of a 2.5. Like, there were stories in there that I did like, for sure, since we have a lot of different authors contributing, so it's not just the same author, but they are very, very YA, and not all of them are fantastical, but that's okay. If some of them take place in contemporary real world, why not? I just noticed personally that I did enjoy the ones that were taking place in fantasy worlds more. So let's go through these individual stories very quickly. Also love this design, this frontispiece, very, very cute. And these are all the stories. I usually have my opinion and my rating next to them as well, but since this is on such a dark paper and I didn't want to ruin these beautiful designs on these pages, I did not do that. I always put them in front of the actual story, I think. Yeah, that's where my notes are and my rating as well. So let's start with Storm Song by Rebecca Coffin-Daffer, maybe? I'm not sure, never heard of her before. Oh yeah, before I forget, in general, there are some stories that are much longer than others, and again, I like the longer stories more in here, and also the stories where the romance isn't really a high priority, because, I don't know, romance in a short story doesn't seem to work for me, or at least it didn't in here. Like, in 15 pages, developing a romance is not easy, so I usually didn't really enjoy that part of the stories. So in total we have 14 stories in here, and many of them actually ended when it started to get interesting. I mean, short stories are kind of meant to pique your interest, to wish for a full novel of the story. But yeah, some of them felt like a prologue or just the first chapters of something that didn't feel finished for me. A lot of them are also much more character driven, with not a huge amount of plot in there, and I'm usually someone who likes plot driven stories with cool original ideas, a very beautiful writing style, great atmosphere. I don't really care about what the characters are having a relationship with, or how they are developing throughout the story or stuff like that. I don't really care about that. YA usually is about coming of age and struggling with personal or physical stuff that you're going through as a teenager. So there's some stuff in here, also stuff that is about the parent and child relationship. We have ratings from 1 star to 3 stars. didn't give a single story in here 4 or 5 stars, so that isn't really a good sign. Very, very bummed about that. I was hoping to really, really love this collection, but yeah, that's just how it went. I was just missing some details. Like, if it's about mermaids, I want to have underwater stuff and details about this underwater world, and most of these stories just took place on land or didn't really describe the underwater scenes. So I don't know, guess just wasn't for me. But let's go through the individual stories. So the first one, Storm Song again, I gave 3 stars to, so it was one of the best stories in here. And what I really liked are the implementation of sign language in here. That was really cool. And it's also written in second person, which is also always fun to come across. And it was also about music and this task that the main character has. Like, she's really struggling with what she has to do, finding her own voice, her own song. And it's also quite dark. Not a lot of these stories feel dark, but this one certainly did, and I really appreciated that about this story. Next, we will always have June by Julian Winters, which was about a gay romance between a human and a mer prince, and they are learning from each other throughout the story, and they are overcoming their fears or weaknesses. This also has to do with music, but also with swimming. And yeah, again, it's just very character driven. There's not really a plot in there, and also felt quite contemporary, so gave this 2 stars. It wasn't bad, but not what I like to read about. I did like the writing style though. Next up, The Story of a Knife by Gretchen Schreiber, which I gave 2.5 stars. This felt very, very gothic, and I also like the writing style in here for sure. But yeah, this really feels like just the beginning of something and just ends in the middle of the story. It didn't feel like an ending, but again, was quite dark, so I appreciate that about it. And it also has some stuff about Hans Christian Andersen, which is always interesting if you put like a book in a book, kind of. So that was cool. Next up, The Dark Calls by Preeti Chiba. I have no idea how to pronounce that name, I'm sorry. This has some Indian representation because we follow an Indian mermaid family, and this takes place underwater, so that was really cool. Overall, I did find it to be very confusing. Like, I have no idea what the plot was about in there, but it has the underwater vibes for sure. And it also has an eel boy, like an eel merman, you could say. That was interesting, but again, I didn't really understand what was going on. Sometimes the setting just suddenly changed, and I don't know, it was hard to follow the plot. Then we've got Return to the Sea by Kellen Bayron, which I gave... Oh, I didn't really say my rating for The Dark Calls, right? Gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars, just because I didn't understand what was going on. Now, Return to the Sea I gave 2 stars. This is an interesting concept for sure. We've got your typical school where you go to, but there are not only humans attending this school, but also mermaids. So that was cool, side by side, seeing them in the same school. This also has sapphic romance in it, and a sad, dying sea turtle. Yeah, again, not really much plot, but very interesting concept. Then we've got The Deep Water Vandal by Darcy Little-Badger. I've read a lot about Darcy Little-Badger previously, and didn't really enjoy it, so didn't really have high hopes, and yeah, I was not impressed with the story, unfortunately. So The Deep Water Vandal was a lot of dialogue about stuff that was going on in the past of these characters, and I mean, as you can see, the story is just like 20 pages, 25 pages long, and if it's just dialogue and about something that happened in the past of all of these different characters in there instead of what is going on in the present, I don't know. I didn't feel really connected to anything. So all in all, got a lot of dialogue, a lot of telling instead of showing, and also humor in it that I didn't enjoy. But there was stuff about a Leviathan, if you're interested in that. That was quite interesting. The fantasy aspects that were in the Deepwater Vandal were interesting for sure, but the focus was on other things. So I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars in the end again. These ratings sound really harsh, but yeah, if I don't really connect with a story, it's just not a 3-star for me. Maybe it was just a bad time when I read all of these. I'm not sure. Next up we have The Nightingale's Lament, right? Sounds like something that you could eat. I'm super confused. By Carrie Manscalco. Okay. I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars, so this was an interesting story. Gave me Sing Me to Sleep vibes for sure. Maybe because I just read Sing Me to Sleep so close to this story, but it has some similarities, so if you liked Sing Me to Sleep, I think this short story would be for you as well, because again, it has this siren and hunter romance in there, and the romance was actually quite interesting in here. It's the only romance story I think that I did enjoy, but this one was quite cool. And what else? Oh yeah, it has an open ending. I remember that. Then next up, on a very positive note, A Sea-Wolf in Princess Clothing by Adriana Herrera was my favorite story in this collection. Woo! And I'm really sad that Adriana Herrera doesn't really have a lot of books out, because I love this one. I love the writing style. It takes place in a fantasy world, got an interesting plot in there, and some mysteries. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is the best rating out of all of these. And yeah, high fantasy. We've got a vengeance plot in here and a very, very interesting siren court. I love stories that take place at court. I love sirens, so this is just perfect. And it's also about our main character being offered as a concubine to the siren princess, but yeah, she wants to get out of it. It's not what she wants, but she has a plan, of course. She does. And it was really interesting. I mean, it was very easy to get out of these dangerous situations, but I mean, it's a short story. What do you want to do if there are multiple dangerous situations and you only have like 15 pages to solve it? It's going to be easy to get out of it. But again, I would have loved to read a novella or even full novel about that. Then Catherine Locke's Nor'easter is based on something that really happened, which is always interesting. I also gave this a pretty high rating for this collection, 3 out of 5 stars, so I really enjoyed it. It's a survival story, which is always something that I do enjoy, and it's throughout this storm called Nor'easter, which apparently really happened. And we also have dual POV in here. One is by a human and the other by a mermaid. And yeah, they're just trying to survive in this storm. It was really interesting. Then we have the second page with the rest of the story. So The First and Last Kiss by Julie Murphy. Already sounds like romance, and yes, you're correct, it is. It's also sapphic romance, and I did enjoy this one. I gave it 3 stars again. So this, I don't know if it's confirmed, but it felt like the origin story of Ursula from The Little Mermaid. So I don't know if that's what it is, but really felt like it, and I loved that aspect. Nothing much else that I can talk about this one, but I did like it. Then The Marrow by the editors, Zoraida Cordova and Natalie C. Parker. And this one was also good. I also gave it 3 stars. We have dual POV again, and it is about this very unusual mermaid or siren, I don't remember, that is being imprisoned by scientists. So one POV follows this imprisoned sea person, and the other follows a human who is the daughter of one of the scientists there. So yeah, this gave me some Shape of Water vibes, of course, because of the plot, and because this mer person is very unusual from any mermaid or siren that I've read about before. So that was very, very cool to see. And I also like scientist stories, so that was also very cool. Then we've got Shark Week. Oh god, by Maggie Tokuda Hall. And this was interesting. I liked the concept, but I don't know, I didn't really feel connected to the story. Maybe because it's, again, contemporary, real world stuff. I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars. It's, again, sapphic romance. We've got a lot of those in here. And I think the problem for me was that there was not really any mermaid stuff going on. Like, our main character grows shark teeth every time that she is on her menstruation. But that's about it. That's all the mermaid stuff that you get in here. And there's not really anything happening with these shark teeth except for like one scene. So yeah. It's also about trying to get on this party that this popular girl, I think, is hosting. I don't really remember much, but yeah, just a typical story with this slight magical realism stuff in there going on. Then we've got Jinju's Pearls by Junho, which is also a cool concept. My problem, which is also why I only gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, was that I hated the main character because she's super selfish. Hated her. But all in all, it's a very interesting world and felt like reading a classic fairy tale. Has themes of immortality in it, which is always a topic that I think is really interesting. And then the last one, 6,000 Miles by Julie Sidao, was again just okay, gave it 2 stars. This again takes place on land, and it's about a whole family that is trying to fit in with normal human beings by hiding what they really are. Like, they actually have scales growing on their legs, but they can push them in, which is very painful, but it somehow works, and they have perfectly normal legs. But then one person in this family is a little rebel and doesn't want to hide that. So that's that. There's also a wedding in here, and I don't know, was too contemporary, literary, whatever for me. But the idea of these scales growing on your body, but you can hide them or not, was interesting. So overall, these stories are all very different, got some really interesting ideas in here. Not mad that I read them, obviously, I wouldn't have finished it. And I'm still going to pick up the next short story, even though I don't really gravitate towards fairy stories, but maybe I'll like it unexpectedly. So I've read all of these books now. Definitely read enough mermaid books for this year, or well, for the next few months, let's say that. So while we're taking a last look at these beautiful books, I like all of these covers. Well, if I have to pick a favorite out of these covers, I think it would be Sing Me to Sleep. I love this cover the most. Then Pot, and then Pisces, and then a short story collection. Wow, they are in the right order. Well, didn't do that intentionally. So all in all, we had one really good story. I love this. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. It would have been 4.5, but it's alright. It's 5 stars. And then we had a story that was not what I expected. a story that I really didn't like, and a mixed bag. Some stories were good, some not so much. So ranking all of these now, I would say that this one was the worst. Will unhaul this for sure. Then comes Sing Me to Sleep, which was just fine. Not good enough to read the sequel, so also going to unhaul this. Then comes Mermaids Never Drown. I will keep it for the collection and because some of the stories were cool. And then there's Pot, obviously the best one in this vlog. So there's the ranking with all the stuff that I read. And I hate that German spines look like that, as if they are the wrong way. The English ones do it perfect. I do not why it's the upside down for German books. Most of the time, not always. Sometimes they do it the right way, but mostly not. I don't understand it, but it's fine. I will unhaul it and won't have to see it again. Okay, enough of these harsh negative words. I do not like to spread negativity, and I do love how these books all look like right now. So yeah, we'll unhaul 2 of these. Always nice to have some more space, and we'll keep these in my shelves. So I hope you enjoyed the vlog, even though it wasn't what I expected. And I will see you in my next video, whatever that will be. So until then, I hope you have a great time, happy reading, take care, and bye!